Sacred Decisions, Crafting Your Life with Confidence. This is a real skills workshop. And I call it a real skill because, man, I needed more skill about making decisions. I would get wrapped up in my head. I've got a good head, but wow, it used to roll round and round and round and round. And, I have a memory of decisions that went on for like 3 years. Do I close down the newsletter? Do I sell the newsletter? Do I run away from home and hide in a cave in the forest? Sacred Decisions for me was a pathway to a different way of engaging around things that mattered to me, around which I needed to choose a pathway and I needed to choose what I took with me. And I'm delighted today to get to explore this with my co-creator, Kathy Bartuli from Thriving Now and the Intimacy Dojo.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. I remember you were the first person that I would agonize over decisions. I would ask people around me, I'd do research, I'd try to intellectually determine all the possible outcomes, and I would get decision paralysis. And I would also spend way too much time on decisions that didn't impact me a lot, and ended up felt like I didn't feel aligned, or I felt like I was guessing when it was decisions that really mattered to me. And I loved when you were like, what you'll feel into your body, slow down, pause. And I'm like, no, I have to rev my brain up on that wheel and just get all the data. And, but you can't see all the possible outcomes. I could intellectually evaluate things, but I don't know what's coming down the pike. So I love, Rick, when you brought this to me, it was like this whole new world. It was just something that, was like, oh, there's a whole different way to make these decisions. And I think that it's a gift when we give ourselves this knowledge and just being around other people. Maybe we're really good at making decisions now, but that refresher of, oh yeah, other people do this too. It helps our survival brain go, okay, this is cool. We're good. So I'm really glad for everyone who's here and everyone who listens afterwards.
So one of the first aspects of the skill of a sacred decision is coming up with a term. Like, sacred decision might not be the right terminology for you. It could be, hey, I'm working on a decision that matters to my heart. It could be something that, hey, this is dear to me, a dear decision, a precious decision, something that when you land on, and I can use all of those. Sacred for me says, as I share it with people, they're like, oh, well, that's different. And that's what I look for as a coach, is a bit of a, ooh, what's that? And some people who have a spiritual nature, that have done any spiritual work across all the different aspects, the idea of sacred, the heart centered, the heart open, the heart aware kind of decision making is a thing. It's a way of engaging with the intelligence within us, our inner guide, our inner guidance, our inner guides, our intuition. And it gets us to include not just this really good part of us that's up here, but also as I speak my truth, as I feel into what matters to my heart, as I tune into my gut and what it's saying, and as my hips and pelvis and groin and reproductive parts are feeling into this world that I'm a part of, what are maybe some things that would help me feel more solid, more confident, more grounded, more rooted, more thriving, more free? Like, if I feel heavy in my pelvis, I might notice in a sacred decision making, well, my pelvis feels really heavy. I feel like bleh. What might help me feel more alive, vibrant, vital, centered? Can you tell that the questions are not an analytical thing? It can be. Um, you can start with questions that are like a list. We provide a lot of those useful questions as part of Thriving Now. But I want, in the first thing is, this is in a category of decision making that is, I want to be different. I'm going to craft a, a decision making space and orientation in my life so that I can craft it with more confidence. If somebody asks me, well, why'd you make that decision? I can speak, well, these are things that matter to me, right? These are the things that matter to me that went into that decision when I made it. And maybe I'm reevaluating it. Maybe the outcome is still being crafted. But when you know what matters to you, like it matters to me to have a body, yes, around things that are sacred decisions. Um, and I'll pause for however long it takes in order to get that. Now, sometimes you get to a place where not deciding to go in a particular direction may have certain things fall away. It's like, yeah, that flight left. But that is one of my core values is that opportunity does not knock once. It taps on the window, it rumbles the foundations of us, it tinkles down in the rain. It does a lot of opportunities are not something that gets me into survival mode anymore.
Which is
And
great because I think for a lot of us, we were taught you must jump on it. Like there's a lot of people out there. And I want to just, if you have had trouble making decisions, please understand you probably spent decades in school being taught to decide with your head. And we're also taught, most marketing people like jump on it, get on it. You got to grab this now or you'll never have the chance again. And there's a scarcity mindset there that really can make people jump on decisions, and they do it intentionally. Because if we're in a reactive mindset, we're more likely to buy that expensive car we don't need, or buy the lipstick that might make us pretty, or whatever it is. We're reactive as opposed to grounded and calm into ourselves. So a lot of marketing will will intentionally try to drive you to that reactive, quick, make a decision, grab this opportunity. But I really do think the universe brings us many, many opportunities. They may look different. They may have a different name on them or a different person behind them, but there's so much abundance in this universe. And I think when we can ground ourselves and help ourselves remember that, it's a lot easier to make decisions because we're not like, oh, this has to be perfect or my life is over. It's, and then can we do some tapping around that kind of, Rick?
sure.
Sure.
And we use EFT tapping. It's an emotional technology. Um, that's what I call it. And if you're new to tapping, thrivingnow.com/tapping, you can get our free course and our guide.
All right. So I invite you, put the cats away, the Facebook cats, real cats, they can hang out with us if they want. Um, but my cats used to love when I do tapping. They come and sit on my desk. So, and just if you would let yourself come here and now, think of it almost as a meditation. If you notice your brain drifting away, just like, oh, that's okay. I'm going to come back to here. Because the more we practice being here and now in the moment, the more we absorb, but it's also really good for our nervous system. So, just a short segue. I follow someone who I don't think most people here would like him, but he has some good ideas. And he said, what I want you to do the next time you go someplace is just drive. Don't put on the radio. Don't plan where you're going. Don't worry about the time. Just want you to be in the car driving. And I drive this route every day. I go to work and I drive this route. And so I drift it sometimes. I'm like planning what I need to do later, but I kept coming back. Beautiful spring day. I rolled down the windows, and normally I feel a little frustrated because there's traffic and lights and all this, and I get to work like kind of stressed out. I felt so calm and fulfilled, and I noticed flowers and buildings and things I'd never noticed before. And it was that just felt, and now I do about half the time. I just turn off the radio and I just try to be with the drive. What am I noticing with my hands? I noticed I was holding my foot weird when I was driving. I never noticed that before, and I just adjusted it. And it was like, oh, my leg feels so much better. So I'd like, if you can, to just invite you to come here and now. Notice how you're sitting. How are you holding your body? Is that good for you, or would you like to adjust a little bit so that you can be a little more comfortable and present? So, and I'm going to invite you during this call, if you can, just to, if you notice yourself thinking about what you do need to do later, just invite yourself to come back to this call. And notice your butt in the seat if that helps you feel grounded and in your body. I love to wiggle my toes. If we're present with our toes, we're pretty much present with our entire body. I love noticing the temperature of the air around my toes. That feels really good to me. The texture of whatever they're touching, maybe wiggling them just again to bring ourselves in. And a nice, gentle, deep breath. Karate chop. Even though I'm surrounded by people who think in scarcity,
Even though I'm surrounded by people who think in scarcity,
and everything on TV is about scarcity,
and everything on TV is about scarcity,
I might actually realize I live in an abundant world.
I might actually realize I live in an abundant world.
Even though they tell me I have to grab those opportunities
Even though they tell me I have to grab these opportunities
and wring every bit of good out of them,
and wring every bit of good out of them.
what if opportunities come around many times?
What if opportunities come around many times?
What if they're like a kind of friendly and persistent cat?
What if they're like a friendly and persistent cat?
They
Opportunity cat.
keep coming over and they bump your head
No,
and they poke you under the pillows
they poke you under the pillows
and they sit there watching you while you eat.
and they sit there and watch you while you eat.
Opportunities are pretty smart like that.
Opportunities are pretty smart like that.
They keep coming around.
They keep coming around.
Top of the head, even though I feel really tense about the opportunities I've lost.
Even though I feel really tense about the opportunities I've lost,
Eyebrow, I invite the universe to bring the ones that work for me back around.
I invite the universe to bring the ones that are right for me back around.
Side of the eye, some of the ones that pass by may not be a good fit anymore.
Some of the ones that pass by are definitely not a good fit anymore.
Under the eye, they've gotten stale.
They've gotten stale.
Under the nose, I want new, fresh, juicy ones.
I want fresh, juicy opportunities.
Chin, I'm not sure what they'll look like.
I'm not sure what they'll look like.
Collarbone, and I invite the universe to draw my attention to them.
And I invite the universe to draw my attention to them
Under the arm, and even present them in ways that are really easy for me to say yes to.
and present them in ways that make it easy for me to make a sacred decision.
Thanks so much, universe. That feels really good.
So much, universe. That feels really good.
Let's take a nice deep breath. And if you're not into cats, you can think of a persistent, friendly dog or a child. But I love cats. And if my cat wanted something, he wouldn't be mean about it. But he'd come back and he'd try a different way. And it's like, you know, I like to think of the universe going, this is really good for you. How about now? No? Okay. How about now?
How about this? And how about that? And where are your preferences? And so what you just did is to me, you grounded us in the present, which is my first step. I need to take a pause, and tapping is often a way for me to pause myself. Okay, I'm tapping now. What do I do? Well, I feel my feet. I feel my butt in the chair. I'm going to be tapping on my body. What's alive for me? Even though I have this opportunity and I'm not sure what to do with it, I've decided I'm going to pause and treat it like a sacred decision. Oh, okay. Oh.
I love that.
And
Just
we calm ourselves into a place where we're quieting, as Kathy pointed out. Um, there are opportunities that I've taken that often have come to me wrapped in FOMO, fear of missing out. Okay. And I actually couldn't have taken the opportunity if it was wrapped in FOMO. It would have left a really bad taste in my mouth. It's a bit like starting to eat the plastic that's around the cake that you want, like
yeah, here's your
yeah, out,
delivery.
out, yeah, right, like yeah, it's not a great plan to and that's why we actively check our work about FOMO and the like. It's good marketing, but it triggers people. We want people that are showing up for a real skills workshop to do so in the genre of sacred decisions, decisions that support their thriving, rather than what can make us the most money.
Right.
And because that now is was that a sacred decision? Well, absolutely, and it continues to be. What do I mean by that? If you're in business, how you present your offers, there are things that, and I want to be clear. Um, FOMO is useful in certain cases to get people to move who would not move.
Mhm.
I know people whose integrity is, yeah, I I use FOMO with integrity in order to move people, and then when they are in my program, I'm helping them get what they really needed. Um, that's their sacred decision. Now, as soon as I feel into that, um, I feel a little weird in my throat. It's easier for me to speak of my truth. Like, how do I want to be marketing? What matters to me is generosity. What matters to me is um, that I have been in places where spending money on myself is something I could never do, even though I had money in the bank. Like I was blocked at spending. I could spend it on my family, but I could not really spend it on me unless I justified it as a safety feature. Um, uh, so sacred decisions, we quiet, we pause, and then for me, this is my, once I drop into that, the next exploration is what matters to me. What matters to me here? I want good feeling about what I do in my work. One other thing that matters is that the things that I do in my work, I want to actually be pretty close to how I relate to the rest of the world too. Like some people really enjoy having a work compartment. Their profession is in a compartment. And that's one of their values is like, I go to work and I'm in this compartment. And when I leave that compartment, I am not at work. I am not doing that.
Yeah.
The sacred decision to be an emotional freedom coach included that awareness that I, Rick, like to flow in and out of what I call work and what I call life and play. And it's interweaving slightly different color textures and the like in my artistry. And that mattered to me. Now, can you tell if somebody says, well, why in the world do you do that, coaching thing, Rick? I can reply based upon the sacred decisions give me a confidence about why I chose it. And this to me is on the other side of a sacred decision. There's there's a jerk, okay? Not inside me, but if I imagine a jerk saying, "Why in the world would you choose that, you idiot?"
Oh.
He used to be here, but now he's like exists in the world. There are people that have, that are not nice. Um, but if I say, "Hey, you know, that was a sacred decision for me. I've already categorized it as something." And what mattered to me was, and still matters to me, was I want to live from a generous place. And that's a guide for me. I I believe that energetic exchanges are often financial, but they're not always financial. Um, the the things that I value are depth and presence more than quantity. I had a client, young man, challenge me. He said, "Well, why should I listen to you? Your YouTube videos only have 50 views." I said, "Well, yeah, I do it for 11 people, and the ripples from it go out from that. Like we have Kathy and I, and what we have Kathy and I, and right now 11 people that are joining in this moment." And do you see like, and this is what I believe that for those with really good minds and rich, beautiful hearts and a gut that has often been wrenched by navigating scarcity and fear and survival stuff, that the this container of the sacred decision says, yeah, I value my survival. I'm going to make sure that the things that I consider contribute to my survival, but that's really about 10% of what I want to focus on. I want to make sure that I've built in the landscape of what really matters, what would help me thrive, how would this influence the people that I hold dearest? Not necessarily the people that are biggest in your life, because um, sometimes the people that are even under our roof are not the ones at that moment that are the ones that are the your kinfolk. Um,
I
so
want to I want to draw
yeah, go.
some attention to something you said because I think it's really important, and I think a lot of us it happens so continuously. We're semi-conscious of it. It's just happening. That jerk in our head that's like, why are you doing this? Kind of putting us down. It can make it very hard to make decisions, and most of us have that because we internalized a parent, a teacher, somebody. It's a way to internally protect ourselves from the world. But if we have a lot of those, I used to have so many, like it was like a cacophony of like all these, like, that was so stupid. Why did you do that? Why did you do it the wrong way? Why did you drop that? Why did you like it was noisy and it's very stressful. I think we make it very hard to get calm and pause and hear our inner guidance and our alignment. So would you be willing to lead some tapping on that? And
Yeah.
that inner jerk and quieting that a little bit?
Hmm. Hmm. Even though they taught me to have an inner critic.
Even though they taught me to have an inner critic.
That's part of being a good person
That's part of being a good person
and a good student.
and a good student.
Criticize yourself before other people do.
Criticize yourself before anyone else does.
Oh, it was so tiring.
It is so tiring.
It takes me out of what matters to me.
It takes me out of what matters to me.
And I'm considering making a sacred decision here.
And I'm considering making a sacred decision here.
How do I want to orient with myself?
How do I want to orient with myself?
That you can always find something wrong with everything.
You can always find something wrong with everything
Eyebrow and everyone,
and everyone
side of the eye, and every decision
and every decision.
under the eye. There's something wrong with every decision.
There's something wrong with every decision.
Under the nose. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting?
Chin. What if it didn't bother me?
What if it didn't bother me?
Problem. What if I accepted
What if I accepted
that every decision has nuance? I
that
love
every
it.
decision has nuance? Sparkles
The
behind me.
universe sparkles. As long as I'm grounded in what matters to me,
As long as I'm grounded in what matters to me,
that can be my answer.
that can be my answer.
And I'm free to answer that way.
And I am free to answer that way.
Mention in the chat. And thank you if you're here live. The chat is a way for us to guide and move with the energy of the group, makes it a workshop without requiring anyone to be on camera. There's this, hey, I've got these people in my life and I've got this sacred decision I'm exploring. Um, and I'm looking for validation. Now, um, my primitive brain likes validation. One of the things I've noticed is that if I first do the work on why this matters to me and why this palette of possibilities, these choices, um, fit that, then as I talk to people that are dear to me that have solid wisdom, I start with that. I say, hey, I've got a decision. It's a meaningful one. I even call it a sacred decision. And what really matters for me here is to and you start with that, that's very different of, should I take this job or this job? Should I take this apartment or this apartment? How can we ground our kinfolk in what we're tuned to if we don't let them know? What that does is they have to, if they have empathy, which is sometimes a question, they'll try to put themselves in your shoes, but they didn't brush your teeth this morning, and they did not put on your underwear this morning, and they don't actually know necessarily what's growing and alive in you energetically. But if you have empathetic friends, what they can feel as you talk about what matters to you is where you're most alive. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I say,
Yeah.
go ahead, Kevin.
No, it just if you especially if you orient them and say, "Listen, I'm trying to make this decision. It's not just about the money and prestige, but I want to feel alive or I want to feel like I'm really contributing." If you help the right people understand the context you're coming from, that can mount they can be very wonderful support. Now, there's some people in my life that are never gonna I can tell them all day long, I want to make a contribution, I want to feel alive. They're like, the money, the prestige, safety, go, go, go. And I'm like, okay.
Prestige, safety, yeah. Those are the answers you'll get from them. And that's useful if that part of it is missing from your sacred
Great to
decision.
have
It's
that
like,
consider. Yeah.
yeah, they're going to point me to the money, the prestige, and the safety.
Yeah.
Um, and to me, that's part of the ecosystem. Safety. Um, what is the emotional world? What is the financial world? What is the um, most sacred cultures recognize that we have multiple aspects of ourselves. Um, Emotional freedom and engagement is is not something I even knew that it was desperately important to me until I heard about EFT, emotional freedom techniques. Emotional freedom, yes, that's what I wanted, right? And so when we explore this, um, the primitive brain wants to know we're not alone. And if you've got some of that going on, I will be like, do I have one person that doesn't think I'm a complete idiot? Now, it's nice for me to find that person. Um, I have made sacred decisions where I didn't have that person. And in that case, it was my spirit buddies who answered that with, this is how we see this decision. If you go in this direction, fitting what matters to you, body, mind, and spirit. And then, interestingly enough, if I look at my life beyond that sacred decision, it's then that, 2 weeks later, Kathy comes into my life, a person that embodies better than anyone in my life to that point the values that I held dear. Now, isn't that interesting? And so, um, yeah. Um,
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
I think when it's like a meditation again. We're trying to make decisions, we're trying to live our lives. Can we come back to what really matters to us, our core values? And we're not always going to get it right. So, like meditation, I kind of suck at meditation. I'm like, half the time, I'm like, I've got to do the laundry, take out the trash. What did that person say that? What did that mean when they said that? Oh, wait, I'm meditating. Come back. Like, it's the coming back, that building that muscle of coming back and practicing being present that matters. Um, and so with our core values, there's going to be times when we get caught up on the flash sale. Get this, your life will be all better. Um, okay, that wasn't really aligned with my core values. I can kind of feel the emptiness I feel when I make those decisions. I kind of feel a little not connected to myself. And there's other decisions where I can feel it in my whole body. Different people said solar plexus. I will often feel it in my pelvis. Like, yes, this is the right decision for me. For in that moment, and I think the more we just keep coming back to that, and noticing, oh, I'm getting stronger at noticing when I'm not in my core values, when I'm in my survival brain, or I'm reactive, or I'm getting influenced by other people. Oh, okay, I'm coming back to me. The more we make those decisions based from that core part of ourselves, I think the more authentic our life feels and the more wonderful things can come into our world. Um, and I do think sometimes I've asked for help with things as I've gone through my life. And there was a time, I guess it was like 16, 17 years ago, where my life was not working. I had a great job. I had a PhD. I had a house, and I wanted to die every day. I was taking a tremendous amount of drugs every day, prescription drugs, to try to make it through the day. And I was seeing a therapist. I was working really hard, but nothing was working. And I was asking for things to work out, but I was asking them to work when I, was praying or asking whatever to help me. I was asking according to the script I knew. It did not include EFT or somatic work. I was very rigidly an engineer. I would go to therapy, but like I wasn't thinking about things outside of that. And my therapist fired me one day at the end of a session. I was like, this felt like the worst thing in the world that could happen. But because of something he said, he was pushing me out the door. I was crying hysterically. And he said, you might want to check out energy therapy. Maybe that'll help you. And I went back to work just on autopilot. I shouldn't have been at work. I was crying. Luckily, nobody came by my office because I was like, and I would just typed in, it was a decision. That moment was I could have collapsed and just given up. And there was a sacred part of me that just my values is typed in energy therapy. And the second thing that came up was Gary Craig's EFT manual. And that set me on a whole new path, like opened a world up that I didn't know. So I just want to encourage you that if you feel like your decision doesn't have amazing outcomes right away, it may be because the universe is opening up your path for you in a different way. It's helping you look at things in a little bit different. And you're going, no, 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 no. And it's like, yes, please. And sometimes for me, I'm very, very stubborn. The universe has to hit me on the head very hard to get my attention. And it's done that, I think, because it loves me, because I would have never found Rick. I would have never found the connection I have to myself. I would have never been doing this kind of work if that therapist hadn't fired me. And then when I went back to my desk, instead of just giving up and accepting his decision, I looked for help. And this, so I just want to say that our decisions don't always have this bright rainbow. We can feel in our body really aligned, but we don't necessarily immediately see a rainbow and pot of gold and everyone's happy and smiley. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It may mean that we're realigning. I don't know if any of you remember those giant big satellite dishes people used to have for their TVs. And if you wanted to realign them, I'm dating myself, this is a lot of years ago. If you wanted to realign them, and they could pick up different channels. Well, I think the universe sometimes is going, okay, that's really rusty. We're going to have to knock that a little bit, and it's going to make a lot of noise, and it's not going to be pretty. But the channels you're going to get after that are just going to be so great. So, I think sometimes I still look at, oh, I made this sacred decision. I want to know if it's right or not. And I'm looking for signs from the universe that I made the right decision. And sometimes it's not pretty when you're looking someplace new that you've never looked before. It doesn't look like what you expected. And it can be like, oh, no, I wonder if I made the right decision. And if you can just think of, oh, I'm looking in a new direction. Maybe something else opened up because of the sacred decision. Let me be curious about this. So does that make sense, Rick?
There's, and I'm, I'd like to link what you just shared back to what I know about you, and where I I believe that the people in our community have been making sacred decisions all along. Um, when like I know you as someone who is persistent and courageous. There was the that was those two qualities um, were so clear within the first 10 minutes of engaging with you. And as you were describing, even knowing that story, I could feel like persistent courage got you typing, even in the midst of all of that. Now, I'm imagining that each of us, if we look at our life journey, there are likely some things that we have valued about ourselves: courage, persistence. Um, Sometimes it's street smarts. Yep, I did not speak my mind all growing up. That wouldn't work out well. And I'm still here kicking. That kind of survival savvy is a thing. And when when I go back to the sacred decision making container, there's a quality of the qualities that I bring in are things that aren't totally unfamiliar. Some are like, how did I get here with this opportunity or this decision? And some are going to be aspirational. As a technologist, I didn't get the chance to go deeply into the my intuition, except for that kind of coding intuition or
Yeah.
direction for the use of like I was intuitive when it came to tools. And I think I applied that when EFT came into my world. Um, but I wanted a chance to go deeper with fellow humans who were willing and
Yeah.
as awkward as that can be. And so we can have aspirational things about what we want. Um, I knew during COVID when after I found out my daughter had been conceived that, hey, buddy, if you don't get in better shape,
She's gonna outrun you.
she's not gonna know her dad for all that long. Just a sense. Now that's like, like when I talk about sacred decisions, you have to quiet the anxiety. Some of them is like real anxiety that like there's a primitive brain aspect to this. My family matters enough to me that it's enough to trigger me into wanting to take action. But guess what? If I take action from that place, it will not persist. It is not a sacred decision. As soon as the trend gets a little better, it will go away. And so I treated that as a sacred decision. And I came up with things that mattered to me. My vitality matters to me, my ability to move and have mobility. Um, Being able to draw on a kind of vibrancy. My sexuality matters to me, and I want to be a sexy 90-year-old. I do. I've got the right match for that in my partner. And so like, oh, okay. Now, when you think about what do you do for um, exercise, I knew that I'm allergic to exercise, so it can't be called exercise. It's not the way I want to live. Movement, dance. Um, and as I explored all the things that mattered to me, to others, and to myself, like, I've got a, I've got a damn decent body. I can craft it to be more vibrant. In fact, I can really have a trend that lasts for decades potentially. Um, One of the things that came to me was walking because it's something well, you just walk. And that
Mhm.
felt flat. And as I quieted myself and I looked at those values, it's like, oh, morning mile. Mornings are good for me. If I get out, a mile's doable. I don't have to do a mile. Freedom, right? I value freedom. So I don't have to go on the morning mile. But it's a sacred decision to make that the foundation of my well-being. And I communicated that and I communicated why it matters. Let me tell you, when you have a new mother who needs as much help as you can possibly give them, and you're going to leave the house, um, communicating the fuller picture of why that matters helps a lot.
It makes a big difference.
And I could feel her support for it. Not only that, I chose the morning mile. My family can come along. I've carried a deer on my back. Emerald and I went for a morning mile in the afternoon around 1:30. The morning mile does not have to be in the afternoon because I'm flexible that way. um, so do you see, like, by treating it as a sacred decision, it also then becomes foundational for you. It's not just the judgment. Well, that's not going to be enough. Well, it has. I've done 1,153 morning miles, and my body, well, we did a mile and a half today. My body's different. I can drop into really feeling like Kathy said, driving to work. I often walk the same path and feel and see life and nature differently. I can build on it. Um, my new sacred decision, like when you're trying to get kids out the door, there's a quality of impatience that rises in me, being someone who likes to be on time. So I took that, and where I landed was unrushed. Someone out there gifted that word to me. I think they talked about wealth and prosperity, um, allowing someone to be unrushed. And I'm like, well, I'm going to start it as emotionally wealthy and prosperous, and I'm going to practice unrushed. Been doing that for about a month. Magic for me, like my energy changes dramatically, and I've not been later than I would be otherwise. Um, but my experience of it, and so that's my because I know why it matters to me. I don't want to use adrenaline and stress to get other people to do things to make me happy or to keep me from being miserable. That's that matters to me to not be in that dynamic. I, I know that dynamic, done that dynamic. It's not good for anybody. Um, I want to have a quality of unrushedness. I want people to feel that about me, that I'm competent at getting out the door. I can pull things together. I can do reminders. Some people in my family need, you know, a dozen reminders in order to kind of focus in and get out the door and get in the taekwondo outfit and things like that. But if I'm unrushed, it's like, oh, well, it'll be a dozen reminders, maybe less, maybe more, but I can pace those out in an unrushed way. That is not to say that I'm ever going to be rushed or anxious or pushy. Um, but I know that I have a sacred decision that unrushed is a quality that I would love. I love these two kids that are sharing a life with me when they're an adult to go, yeah, Rickety Rick is just, he's unrushed.
It's chill.
It's so weird. For, um,
I especially coming from a mother who had a script about how we should go, and she didn't always share the script with us. And there'd be a lot of screaming and hassle, and you're ruining my day. And like, I think stress, adrenaline going on when we were trying to get somewhere. So I really appreciate you doing that for those kids and modeling that for them.
and it's mostly for me, in the sense that another quality of a sacred decision is that it really does serve you. If it falls, um, I, I, I see that we're at a place where the more of us that make decisions based upon something other than our primitive brain, um, and survival, that we are part of the circle. Yes, my energy serves other people I'm connected to, and I'm part of that. I'm a core part of that. And so the decisions I want, and this is where people, if you tend to think of others first, if you have a friend or kinfolk that can say, "Hey, you know me, I put others first, and I'm in the process of making a sacred decision. I'd like to run it by you and see what you would have me include or ask questions to make sure that I'm being my thriving is being served by this too." Um,
If that
you
if it
know,
helps, I
go
have
ahead.
before each call or when I work with a client or anything important, I ask the universe to please let this be in the highest good and serve others. May I be of service to others. And I've recently added, please let it also be of service to me. Because for so many years, it was like, be of service to others. And I'm like, how about, can it be of service to others and to myself? And something I got from Al Anon years ago. But it really helps me tune into one of my core values is I don't want to just be here, look at me. I want to be of service to people. And I can include myself in that list now as a way like, oh, I don't have to deplete myself. I can also take care of me. I think for me, if that helps, it's the one way I've found useful. Is it about break time or where are we at?
I think we could take a break here.
Yeah,
It's
because
a
I think
little early.
I don't want to get back on the other topic, the other sub part, the juicy part until I don't want to break it up in midway.
We're going to take a 7-minute break. And if you're watching the recording with us, encourage you to take a break too.
Stretch your leg.
And yeah, and we'll be back. Do you want to tune people to what we're going to be?
So one of the things that we're going to talk about some things that really block us in making decisions and carrying through with them. So I'll just leave it at that. Let you kind of we'll share in a few minutes. Anticipation.
Yeah, thanks.
So welcome back. I invite you just to notice how you're taking care of yourself, giving a stretch, giving yourself a little break. I think it does help like things settle, but just notice how your body feels and how being back here, like how you're feeling. And I invite you to notice if your body's a little uncomfortable, if you could shift it or maybe take a sip of water if that would help. So I think there's two things I'd like to talk about. One is about how we have trouble making decisions because we have a script. And I also want to talk a little bit about why we might sometimes leave our sacred decisions for good reasons or for bad. Or for not for good
Did
for
you just give us a binary?
yeah, I did. It's for better or worse reasons. For better or worse reasons.
That's a Stritcher Poor, that's those part.
Yeah.
Sacred decision.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
So one of the things that I've noticed, I do this a lot myself, and I have some really good examples in my family, is when I'm making a decision, I will sometimes, especially if I'm not really grounded with my values, I will make a decision with a script in my head of what it should look like. If I make this decision, if I decide to buy this new car, it will work perfectly. I won't back it into a pickup truck or a light post this week after I get it, which did happen. Rick was with me at the time. Um, Week after I got it, it will work perfectly. I won't have any trouble with registration. Everyone will admire it. I will feel very good about it. I have written the script of how it will look. If I decide to invite this person to come with me to something, they will be delighted. They'll be the most perfect roommate. They won't leave stuff everywhere. They will not be cold, have a cold or something. So I think we subconsciously often write scripts about how things should look. We have a should in our head. It may be just below the conscious level. It may be at the conscious level or just a little bit higher. But it's just, we have these shoulds in our heads. And I think there's some inner resistance when we want to make decisions based on that because we're collaborating with the universe, with all kinds of different people, the weather, the truck was just parked there, but I backed right into it. Like I was inattentive. It was parked, nobody was hurt. Just the car bumper had to be replaced. But um, it was a big shock to me. It was my first new car, the first one I owned that I bought brand new. I was so proud of it. It's actually still sitting out in the front driveway. Um, but it didn't go by script, and there was a big shock, and there was a feeling like I must have made the wrong decision because it was hard for me to like invest that much in a car at that time. Or it was hard for me to spend the money. Not that I didn't have it, but I think sometimes if we can slow down and notice the scripts we have before and after we make the decision, it can help us feel like we were talking a little bit about this before the break, where if we have a script, we have this idea in our head that all the kids should be ready to go at the front door, not have forgotten their lunch, not have forgotten their shoes, not have socks that don't match, whatever. We have this should in our head. When it doesn't match, we can really we can lose our balance. We're not the cool Rick, or I'm not pointing to Rick. I have examples in my own life too, but if we can notice the script is playing, then we can slow down and go, oh, I'm in a play with not just myself, with the play I wrote, but with a lot of other people that have no idea what the play is. They have their own plays going on, and we're improvising with each other. And then there's like the weather and people we don't even know that, the power went off. Oh, that wasn't in my script. How are we going to do that? So I think even when we make sacred decisions, we may have this script going somewhat that we think how it will be, and then we can take it as I will often take it as a sign I made a wrong decision if things don't turn out beautifully right away. Um, or we can just feel really frustrated and we have trouble making the decision because we don't feel like subconsciously we really want it to look a certain way. We're not sure we can make it look that way. We'll feel like we failed. So if we can slow down and notice, like, what do I expect? What do I think this will look like? And is that reasonable to expect that? It's fine to expect it, but is that likely to happen, especially if I'm not telling other people? So if I slow down and notice, I'd really like to have dinner with this person, but I'm really depleted. So I can tell them I'd love to have dinner, but I don't want a big discussion over where we're going to go. I'd like to go to a quiet restaurant without TVs. I would love you to be present with me and not distracted. I need someone to listen to me. And if you're a yes and you can do those things, great. If not, I'm going to find a different way to do it. Now they at least we've given them a copy of our script.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean they won't have a horrible day and be like, I'm so sorry I said I could be there, but my brain is full of stuff. But at least they have a copy of the script and they have an idea of what we need. So I just think the scripts get in the way a lot. Someone should have too many scripts in my head. I have them all the time. It's not wrong. It's okay to have wants of things, but I think often there's shoulds in there too. I would like it to look this way, and I love a friend of mine always says this or something better. Like, you know, I'd like I'd like something that feels this great or something better. Um, which I think is a beautiful way to put it. So I can have wants, but when I start making them shoulds or musts, or I'll be a good person if this turns out this way, or I deserve to get my needs met if it turns out this way, we're really getting in our way of amazing surprises that could help us. That this was really me before I found EFT. Like I was very like it's mathematical, intellectual. I felt like I lived somewhere above my body. And like first time Rick was like, "What does your body tell you?" I'm like, I don't think I have any communication with my body other than to tell it what to do. Like it was a big effort for me to I had to work through that. But I think if we can notice the scripts and notice if is this like I would desire this or something better, or if it doesn't work out this way, I'm going to feel like, how rigid do you feel about it?
Yeah.
I think it can help.
It's interesting. I remember this or something even better. Um, that served me for a while, but then it kept putting me into my evaluator
Wow.
and like, well, is this better? Hey universe, you're fucking me over here. This does not feel better. um, and right now, one of my sacred decisions was to land back in who do I want to be? What rather than the doing and the outcome.
I think just to expand a little bit, when I say better, it doesn't have to be money wise or us
Oh, I
according
get
to,
it.
it can be like, will this make me a better person? Sometimes I don't enjoy those processes very much, but like I said, I'm really stubborn and the universe sometimes has to help get it in my head. Um, but yeah, it's like this or something better could mean like I'm a deeper person. I can connect with people more or have amazing experience that I would never like. The more we can expand our possibilities, the more there's a lot of wonder out there that we don't know about. There's a lot of things we don't know we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. And um I we're offering real skills. This aspect of sacred decisions is something that's we're exploring. We're looking at this. My hope is that as more of us try on this or whatever we end up calling it, that there'll be more wisdom around this than, let's say, the Ben Franklin pros and cons. You need to make the pros and cons, and whichever one is bigger is the one you choose. Well, I can make always make a list of cons. It's so long, but I never end, never ending cons.
But I
It's
don't, sometimes they're useful to kind of get it on paper, but
I'm just saying that
yeah.
that is a part of the picture. Um, I find it useful when I'm looking at product reviews and things like that to see pros and cons that, you know, that are coming forth from it. Um, and like what you're talking about for me is where do I come back to? Where's my landing zone? Because um, the should script is uh, to me a susceptibility. So if I make a decision and I'm really clear about what makes it attractive to me, and part of that is, well, um, this is how it could play out, right? And I'm like, yeah, I like that script, and it doesn't play out that way, like ever. Um, the sacred decision coming back to, well, like, am I getting a chance to be devotional? Yes, I am. Am I getting a chance to be generous? Yes. Am I getting a chance to be deep? Yes. Is this really part of my artistry? Yes. Um, okay. Well, then how do I want to adapt to what's showing up? There's a quality of adaptability rather than re-scripting. When I have a real clear script, like you're talking about, I should. Well, if I do this, then this should happen, and this should happen. I put out this email, and people should sign up for the workshop. And I do something I'm really like, oh, this really is great, and then people should jump on it. Um, and it doesn't go according to that script. Where am I left with? I'm left in thinking I got an A plus on the exam and it comes back as a B minus, and I do not know what to do with this. And this is for me as an operating principle, looking back at, am I getting a chance to be the things that were essential as part of this? If coaching was not giving me things like deeper connection, co-creating, a chance to really exercise my empathy and my presence and become a deeper, less intellectual and more embodied person. Um, Meditation was taking me sort of there, but I'm more of a co-creator. Meditation is a good foundational thing for me, but it's not enough. Like I would go nuts as a, a full-time, don't put me someplace for 10 days just meditating and being silent. That's not, that would be like, yeah, we're going to take him and not give him any water for 10 days and he'll be fine, right? Like just water fasts and no food, no, nothing. Um, you see me eating the grass and clawing for people. Um, when you know yourself, then you come back to, well, this still matters to me. And how do I want to adapt? This still matters to me. And how do I want to adapt? And the adaptations are part of that container. Like this matters to me. This work matters to me. This relationship matters to me. This land matters to me. This book, or whatever expression of your artistry. I know people that I've worked with that they have something inside of them that they want to come out, and they've had a book and they've been like, I want to do a book. I want to do a book. I want to do, and the book never happens. There are pathways here. One of them is when they're really grounded in why this matters to me and what's a way that I can show up for that. Um, Quiet the noise. Then the book starts coming forward in an unrushed, natural way. And sometimes when they look at like, well, what really matters to me, it doesn't end up going into a book. It goes into something else. Maybe it's a workshop that they take on the road. Maybe it's, um,
Different way of walking in the world.
I'm writing something right now to feed into an AI 5 years from now for thriving. Uh, that's the output. Now I still use it for other things, and I'm very clear about why it matters to me. I have 37 bullet points of why doing this matters to me. And so, if you
Yeah.
get a
You have a,
go ahead.
so someone asked if I could clarify. They said they want to move out of an emotionally abusive home, but can't yet afford to. And they're also terrified of being in a physically unsafe new rental, just like not wanting to hit a new car. I don't want to leave until I can afford to not be trapped in another bad but scarier situation. How do I tap to ask for that? And I really appreciate you asking that because it is, especially when there's a lot of this is something that's really important and there's an urgency feeling to it. And when we're making decisions like that, I think we always want them to come out perfectly, and we can't always make that happen. But I can, if you're okay, let's just tap along this, and you can change the words. You can always change the words when we offer something. We want to give you lots of choice. One of the things I often encourage people to do is if it feels okay, try the words on. One of the things I've been learning is we often don't know the right words or know nuances until we speak them. And I imagine I'm tasting the words as they're coming out of my mouth or noticing how my body feels. And I work with a therapist who I really adore. And he often just says, you're allowed to change the words afterwards. You're allowed to correct yourself. Just speak. And sometimes I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait, that's not quite right. It's this. And so I invite you to try these words on and notice what works for you, because this is a situation where you want to be as efficient and careful as possible as you go forward. And I get that. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath. Karate chop. Even though I'm not quite sure what to do,
Even though I'm not quite sure what to do.
I don't want to jump from one bad situation to another one.
I do not want to jump from one bad situation to another one,
And I have to make it, I want to make a change pretty soon.
and I want to make a change pretty soon.
I invite the universe to give me very clear signs.
I invite the universe to give me some very clear signs.
Like a burning bush would be great.
That would terrify me. Um, yeah, nice.
Neon arrows.
Neon arrows would be good. Yeah, I like those.
Top of the head. I feel really overwhelmed.
I feel really overwhelmed. That's the truth.
Eyebrow. And I'm scared about making a wrong decision.
And I'm scared about making a wrong decision.
Side of the eye. I care about getting out of this emotionally abusive home.
I care about getting out of this emotionally abusive home,
Under the eye. And I don't want to be in a place where I can't afford to take care of myself.
and I don't want to be in a place where I can't afford to take care of myself.
Under the nose. Universe, please guide me and help me.
First, please guide me and help me.
Chin. Please help me know what my next step should be.
Please help me know what my next step can be.
Collarbone. And if it's okay, please be gentle and loving as we move forward.
And if it's okay, please be gentle and loving as I move forward.
Under the arm,
Mm,
I'm really scared.
I'm scared, and it is scary.
Top of the head, and I'd love to know you're holding my hand.
I'd love to feel you holding my hand.
Just take a breath and just notice what you're feeling and what's coming up for you. Um, I think sometimes when we ask for something like that, I've found my subconscious is now tuned to other possibilities than what I might have been thinking. And if I see you can define science however you want, but I'll often ask the universe if I'm having a rotten day. I'm like, please show me in lots of little and big ways that you love me. Like, and it'll be like the lights turning green. Oh, I feel loved. I find a perfect parking spot. Like little things can help me feel connected. And I think a lot of us struggle with really complex questions like this that I feel very like this is my life I'm trying to decide on. Like, how do I decide on this? And I love that Rick keeps us bringing us back to our values. And then we can just turn over some of this to the universe. We can make the best decision we know how. And I think that the universe can course correct from even decisions. Like, I think we want right and wrong. This is the exact right
Right.
time. This is,
This will be
and
safe, or this won't.
right,
Or this is certainly safe. This will definitely work, and this won't. Most of life falls into a, when it comes to survival and home and nest, our core. These are extraordinary zones of decision making that are, especially if you're in a situation that is not tolerable and you know it. Um, and it's tender. And usually we want like the script. Oh, I do this and then I do this and then I do this and then I'm safe.
it may not
And
be
I
that.
I wish that was the way it worked. And well-meaning people often would lay out a script for me. I've done it for people too, just to have them try it on. I notice that when it's grounded in like safety, respect, and freedom, those were three things that mattered to me when I was making a life change, a really significant life change. And what was interesting is I remember I was really, I can't remember exactly where I was. I may have been the barber shop when I used to need one. Um, I picked up a magazine and I'd been thinking, I just want to feel close to people and engaged. And there was an article I flipped to, and there was this dude, and I could just tell by the look on his face that he was living a meaningful life. And he had sold everything and went in the Peace Corps, just everything. He just sold everything. He was a software guy, just sold everything and joined the Peace Corps. And I tried it on. I was like, that will never happen. However, um, that's the script. If I tried to follow his script, it was never going to happen because it violated some things that were really dear to me. I needed to be close to certain people, not necessarily living with them, but I needed to be close enough. And going into the Peace Corps was not. But as I read more and I looked at it and I felt it, there was a quality of depth of engagement that was more important to him than the money and the success and the status and everything else. I was like, oh. And then that led to other ideas and the like. And I think that's oftentimes the universe is feeling for, hey, can you extract this idea from it and be with that? Try it on. Let us get a sense. Um, it can be a no, but there's a sliver of it that is a yes. We can do this with lovership. We can do it with places to live. We can do it um, with activities that would help open things up for us. It's not the easiest aspect of the journey.
I think,
And the more that we're clear about what really matters to us, the more that those things light up. You you can even see the word, feel the words pop off the page. You'll be drawn to imagery and neon signs that aren't neon. They're they're a word, they're a post, there's a funny thing that someone, and like, oh yeah, that's funny, but it really matters to me,
yeah, no,
like laughter matters to me more. I go ahead.
no, one of the things we want to emphasize in this, we're allowed to make sacred decisions and change our minds. We are not stuck forever in this like sometimes we need to we make a step forward, we learn something from it. Maybe that's what we needed to learn. And it might be um I'm just thinking about having living situations. When I was in grad school, my girlfriend broke up with me. I've been living with her. And I had to find a new place really quickly with my two cats. And a friend recommended this place. I jumped in and there was no bed. And they're like, oh, yeah, don't let your cats out near my pit bull. It will kill them. And I'm like, no, it was horrible. I was so terrified the few days I had to stay there. Like, I was just like, my cats are my children. Um, so like I made a decision to go there, and this is before Sacred Decisions, but like it was the best decision I had at that moment. I had to find a place to stay.
Survival decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one.
And I
Yes.
learned a lot of questions to ask. It was a very educational, and I found another place that was okay. And then I found a place that was really good. Like we're allowed to course correct. We're allowed to say, this is where I'm going now. And maybe it goes something afterwards. Um, and can we tap on, someone asked about how can I tap to have kindred friends and community, like making decisions around that. I think it's lovely. Is it okay if we do a little tapping on that, or?
Do you want, I, I want to say just something, uh, if you feel any resonance with the people that are here, like we're here on a Sunday, um, people covering many different time zones. There are other people that'll watch when they wake up, uh, and the replay's posted. I what if I feel really alone and isolated and not like I'm I don't have any friends. That used to be my mantra. The pathway was not to immediately find someone like Kathy. Okay. Um, the pathway was to notice when someone posted something or I read something or I started feeling a heart kinship, heart connection with people around the world that certain things, hey, safety matters to that person, matters to me. Consent, which is what our last workshop was on, that that's so precious to me. And and look, there's there's another man teaching about consent, and there are all these people that are having workshops and doing weird stuff that, I maybe that's not my zone, but consent matters to me.
Yeah.
I know that if we sat down next to each other and I said, "Hey, I see this consent matters to you," they'd be like, "Oh, more than I could even describe." And when you know that there are other people on the planet that share some values, these essential things that are true for you, that's the sacred part of connection that for me has come first. It's a place of, hey, I am not alone in wanting emotional freedom. And no, it's not them or the people who I'm biologically, blood related to that are the ones that are leading the way in that. It's people like her and him and her and her. The people on the call, I look at these names, look at these people, look who posts on the thrivingnow.center site, look who, um, you know, came together. Hundreds of thousands of people came together for the Tapping World Summit. Hundreds of thousands of people. We are not alone, even if we're not necessarily the normal distribution. Um, and that practice, I made a sacred decision to feel the connection to living beings as well as non-physical beings, but definitely people who were walking this earth with similar values, not identical, not necessarily always the same priorities, but when I met Kathy and like, this is a persistently courageous person, and that is so precious to me. I want more of persistent courage in my life. It activates me. It gets me to show up. Her vibe of persistent courage made me persistently courageous and continues to do so through difficult times too. We can tap into what other people have before they become our best buddies. We really can. Um, so would you lead a tapping on that?
I just want to riff off yours a little bit. Because Rick is absolutely correct. I met a lot of really amazing people through the circle. It was called Team back then, but I would reach out to different people and say, "Hey, I really liked what you said." Like when if I liked what they said a number of weeks in a row, I might say, "Hey, do you want to jump on a call really quick and just or can I have your email because I'd love to connect more." So it's baby steps going forward. Um, and doing a lot of those so you can like, if you're in a rich pool, you might find some kindred people right away. But I've also learned you have to filter through a lot of people to find that people that are just I have I have probably a handful of people in my life that I would trust, Rick's top of the list, but like you need a kidney, I call Rick my kidney friend. You need a kidney, what flight should I get on? But that wasn't it took some time and a lot of deep sharing and a lot of we've built both through a lot of things. So I think if you can notice that it may not come immediately and that you may have to do some of your own work to get out there and meet people. I'd sit in my living room going, where are my friends? And they're not paragliding through my roof. Like, I wasn't meeting people. I had to get myself out of there, out to meet people. So we have to do our own work too. But karate chop, even though I don't have a lot of kindred friends right now,
And though I don't have a lot of kindred friends right now,
I know I have a very loving heart
I know I have a very loving heart,
and I'm generous
and I'm generous
and curious.
and curious.
I bet there's some people out there that would really like me.
I bet there's some people out there that would really like me, even though I don't believe it.
Puffin head, universe, please help me find some kindred friends.
Universe, please help me find some kindred friends.
Eyebrow, guide me to find the right groups to meet.
Guide me to find the right groups to meet.
Side of the eye, would you give me the courage to connect in baby steps with different people?
Give me the courage to connect with baby steps with people. Baby steps.
Under the eye, I'm feeling really nervous about this.
I'm feeling really nervous about this.
Under the nose, and I know I have to be vulnerable to meet kindred people.
And I know I have to be vulnerable to meet kindred people.
Chin, but I get to do it in baby steps.
I get to do it in baby steps.
Collarbone, I get to meet people over time.
I get to meet people over time.
Under the arm, and I'm really ready for some heartfelt, connected friends.
And I'm really ready for some heartfelt, connected friends.
Top of the head, please help me take the initial steps.
Please help me take the initial steps.
Yeah, and just take a breath and notice how it feels. Yeah, there's background things that Apple's doing sometimes not.
I know.
Yeah. And I was very, very shy. I'm still pretty shy, but I've learned I built up muscles to talk to people. And initially it was just like talking about innocuous things like, oh, the weather's nice. That was big for me. And then gradually, as I practiced more, I could start sharing more vulnerably. And people will connect with you more if you're sharing real things, when you're speaking the truth about yourself or about your experiences. That gives them something to, oh, I feel kindred to that. If we're just being really quiet or really surface, it's hard for them to know who we are underneath that necessarily. So, it's a really good way to, like, if you can take some baby steps and share some real things about yourself. It doesn't not your big password or, your deepest, darkest secret. But start leaving out breadcrumbs for people to find. That can help. So I know there's a lot of things people want to make decisions on. Rick has the circle that with calls, you can go and go some deeper on your particular issue. Um, and I just want to appreciate the curiosity that brought people here. Like sacred decisions, there's a lot of people that be running the other way. Like sacred decisions, I don't want to make decisions, and sacred scary. So again, realize that this group is somewhat filtered. So if you're looking for really cool people, reach out to each other a little bit. No one has to answer. It's very consent based, and start slow. You want to get to know people before you start giving them, really deep things. But you can meet some really amazing folks here that are courageous and wanting to make a difference in the world. And that for me is really juicy. It's a really good start.
You, um, I want to amplify something that you said, and because I see it in the chat too. Someone brought up something vulnerable, and other people were being like, "Thank you, yes, thank you for that question. Thank you for that question." Um, that's resonance. These are people that are sharing life and similar situations, and sometimes they're not the ones that can come through and help us. Friend of mine asked me to help him move a couch. My back is not feeling like moving a couch. I'm a very helpful person. If he had had something else emotional, like heavy lifting emotional, I could have helped him with it, um, but not carrying a couch. And so people that are, but when we notice things like that, to me, if I'm the one who asked the question, and even one other person is resonant, much less two or three, reflections about the universality of this. You know, our home is precious. How we feel in it. Um, how do we move from where we are to someplace else where hermit crabs, they line up and they figure out like who's going to get the next shell, right? Like they can just figure it out, and then everyone goes off with their new shell. You know, um, we're not like that, and yet also there's resonance and there's empathy, and in our group there's that. um and you're right, Kathy, divine filtering is a big part of. I intentionally choose things that repulse those that um yeah, because it's good. It's part of the sacred decision. Is I love that what we're doing as freedom kin, um, repulses people that want everyone to be obligated to them, or
It
um,
takes away their power when you're making sacred decisions.
uh, we tend to attract people that have profoundly sensitive and capable empathy meters, sometimes to the point where we've had to navigate extremely difficult people. And that's sort of, it's like if you did weightlifting with just one arm, much less, your whole body, you get really, really strong, Popeye the Sailor Man in one arm. But and empathy for the purpose of survival is like that. It's a superpower that gets exercised as we take that in. It's like, I want to make a sacred decision about how I use my empathy. I want to use it be for savvy survival, but I also want to put a little bit more of it into, is there anyone resonating with the values that I have? Not sometimes when it's our personality, we can feel sort of defective or broken. Um, but when we start reflecting the values that we share with each other, um, to me, that starts rebuilding the common ground, because we can argue about everything. We can come up with lists of cons for just about anything, any decision. Um, when we are when we're sharing that, I'm here because this matters to me, or thank you for sharing that, consent matters to me too. It doesn't have to be a big story, but I remember the first time somebody said that to me. I still feel the resonance of that. So whether it's safety, respect, freedom, kindness. Hey, saw what you did. Kindness matters to me too. Appreciate you. Um, so yeah, thank you all. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Kathy.
you. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you find lots of beautiful places you can use this.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.